We are back, and you are listening to Executive Leaders Radio. This is Dean Schwartz, your host, with my co-host, John Lee of Griffin Financial. And now, let's talk to Bob Bentz, who's the president of Advanced Telecom Services. Bob, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Tell me about what Advanced Telecom does, Bob.
Well, Advanced Telecom Services provides interactive telephone services to the media and advertising agencies.
And now, interactive to the media and ad agencies. By the way, what is media?
Well, media to us is primarily newspapers, radio stations, and television stations.
And then what do you do for them?
Well, an example of a product that you're probably familiar with is Voice Personals, which is a dating service which was very popular in the 90s and the 2000s in newspapers. And you could go in there and search for a person that you might be interested in dating in and see their classified ad, and then either dial a 900 number or an 800 number with credit card and leave them a message and then arrange a date that way. So the dating business has been a big part of our business over 22 years of the company, and that business has evolved from a landline phone-based service to an internet service, and then most recently to a mobile phone-based service.
So your business keeps changing, and you have to keep changing with it.
That's right. The customer base has stayed the same through 22 years, but what has changed is the medium that we reach those customers in.
Did you start the business?
Yes, I did, along with two partners.
Where did you get the idea?
Well, I was working in the television advertising industry in the late 80s. I was working in Connecticut at the time, and I actually saw 900 numbers being very popular in the late 80s. They were primarily in 1987 to 1989. There were 50 test 900 numbers running, and we were selling late-night ads. Back then, it was mostly girls in hot tubs saying to call me, and we thought we would take the high road and enter this 900 number industry, do more business-to-business, non-adult services.
Sure.
And that's what we started back in 1989.
Did things go according to plan?
Well, things never go according to plan. The plan was to be successful, and ultimately we were successful. But yeah, it was 2.5, 3 years of some real trying times, difficult times.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Give me an example.
Well, we were three guys in our 20s. We didn't come from wealthy families, so we needed to finance the business by having second mortgages on our homes. We took no salary for the first 2.5 years. We really ground it out. Actually sleeping in the office, and then I would go to the YMCA in the morning and take a shower. So we were all living away from home, living away from our families. It was a real tough beginning to the company, but in the long run, it was a great investment that we made.
Did you have a conversation with your wife about doing this before you started?
Well, yes. Actually, she was 6 months pregnant when I decided to change careers and expecting our first child. And I think a lot of people looked at me like, what are you, crazy, man? But she was with the program. She continued to work and supported the family for those first 2 to 3 years until I was able to get a regular paycheck.
That must have been a little tough. She had the baby. You were down here, not at home lots of times. She had the baby. She's still working, and you're like sleeping in the office.
Yeah. If a marriage can get through that, you can get through almost anything.
Really? Wow. And then what happened is you kept at it. You didn't stop. I love the thing about showering at the Y. And what turned it for you?
Well, what turned it for us was when we first started, we were actually buying advertising and hoping that the phone services would turn a profit. Well, when you're three guys with not deep pockets and no outside investors, all it takes is a couple of failures and you're out of business. So what we did was one day we were looking through the newspaper and we said, there's got to be a place here where we could advertise for free and make a win-win situation for us, for the consumer, and for the newspaper. And we actually saw the crossword puzzle. And we said, what we'll do is we'll put a 900 number in the crossword puzzle where people can actually cheat on the crossword puzzle. So they don't have to wait until the next day to get the answers. So they actually would dial a 900 number. If they were stumped on 14 across, they would hit 14.
God. What a great idea.
And then they would get the answer to the clue.
That's fantastic. And as the business has changed, you've changed with it then. You have to, don't you?
Well, we've had to. A lot of our competitors have not survived because they haven't been able to reinvent themselves. Of course, something came along in the mid '90s called the internet, which I always kind of wish was never invented, because people used to dial phone services for information like weather and sports scores and things like that, and suddenly the internet was able to deliver that in
It
much,
took away part of your business.
yeah, a much cheaper and a much more efficient way than we were able to on the phone.
And you just keep finding a new way to do it then.
That's right. We continue to service the same customers after all these years, and what we've had to do is we've had to evolve. I've had to evolve into becoming an internet guy, and now more recently I've had to evolve into becoming an apps guy, a smartphone guy, and a mobile phone person.
Give us some examples now of how you help your customers in those media.
Well, in the newer mediums, we have a new company called Advanced Mobile Solutions, and this time we did go out and seek outside financing for Advanced Mobile Solutions. And Advanced Mobile, what we have done is developed relationships with the media over all the years. So we happen to know all the classified ad managers at newspapers from all of our years providing voice personal services. So when it comes to classifieds in the newspaper, well, what do they think of? They think of autos, they think of homes, and they think of jobs. So what we have become is we've become expert in taking large databases of information like a newspaper classified has, or like apartments.com has, who's one of our customers, and merging them and making them available for the small screen of the mobile phone.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you were 14 or 12, would I have known you were going to be in the 900 phone business and now the internet? Would I have known that back then?
Well, probably not, because those things were not invented
That's true.
when I
but
was
would
14.
I have known you were going to be? Would I have expected you were going to have your own business then?
I think so. I think entrepreneurs come from families that are entrepreneurs. My father owned a carpet store in Harrisburg, and he was a hard worker. He was actually in a wheelchair, World War II veteran, and went to work every day and worked really hard. And I like to think I got my Central Pennsylvania work ethic from my father.
You probably got a lot more, considering he came back from the service in a wheelchair and started a business.
That's right. That's right.
But you didn't want to be in that business.
No, that business wasn't for me. I do have a brother who runs that business right now, and that's great. And I'm so glad that he's maintained the legacy of my father. But that business was not for me. I'm more of a creative type. I can't hammer a nail in straight.
Was your father around to see you start this business?
No, unfortunately he wasn't. Unfortunately, he passed when I was in high school, so he never got to see the success we've enjoyed.
That's a shame. What would he have said to you?
Would
he have said, good job, or was he tough and said, well, okay?
No, he was always a positive guy. He was never a tough guy on me, and he was always a guy that would look at the glass being full and not empty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when did you first see advertising 900 numbers? When did that first come into your scope of thought here?
Well, I like to watch TV, so who doesn't, right? I always say the people who say they don't watch much TV are probably fibbing. But I always like to watch TV. I was always intrigued by advertising. I graduated with an MBA in marketing, and I had a background in journalism. So it seemed like that was a great combination of my 2 degrees to get involved in advertising sales.
Now, along the way, as you no doubt have learned, when you start a company, at some point you have to manage a company and learn how to manage a company. How did you get those skill sets?
Well, I think it's just all about treating people right. I think at the end of the day, your people are your greatest assets. That's one of the mantras that I live by. And when I look at, our CFO at our company has been with us about 18 years. Our vice president of engineering has been with us for 16 years. These are people with skills and backgrounds that you just couldn't replace, that sort of a knowledge base that they've built up over the years. And I think the loyalty goes both ways.
As you've grown the company, I know that you're not the only owner of it. How have you developed your partnership within the company?
Well, partnership is like a marriage. You have to give and take. You have to look the other way on some things, and there's times when you need to speak up when you think something is serious. But I think you have to let the little things go, and you have to really address the big things and talk about something when it's really bothering you, because you can't internalize things that happen. And when you work closely with a person, as long as I have worked with my management team at the company, you're going to have differences, and the important thing is to discuss them and get them out in the open.
You know, I asked about your father. We talked about him. I didn't mean to not ask about your mother. What did you get from your mother?
Well, the same thing. You know, she had that same Pennsylvania work ethic that you find. And
what do you mean by a Pennsylvania work ethic?
Well,
because we should put it in the tourism ads. What do you mean?
There you go. You know, I think there's a real work ethic when it comes to growing up in central Pennsylvania. People work hard, and she had that as well. You know, she was working, when most moms weren't working. I never knew a situation where I had a stay-at-home mom. She was and still works today at 82 years old.
Really?
And she's the principal of a preschool.
Wow. Bob, what's the website address?
Our website address is www.advanced.com.
Thank you very much. We've been talking to Bob Bentz, who's the president of Advanced Telecom Services. Don't forget to visit our website, executiveleadersradio.com. We will be back in a moment, right after this business spotlight.